The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive station built by the Archons 10,000 years ago. Inside, representatives from 47 species gathered under crystalline domes that showed the universe in all directions. Today they discussed a problem. A small problem. Ambassador Kelthris of the Vrynn Empire stood at the central podium. His scales gleamed purple under the chamber lights. 4 eyes scanned the assembled delegates with contempt. The Vrynn had ruled their sector for 3 millennia. They knew power when they saw it. And Earth had none. The humans refuse our terms, Kelthris announced. His voice echoed through translation devices in every language known to the galaxy. They reject the tributary status. They claim sovereignty over their system. Laughter rippled through the chamber. High-pitched chirps from the insectoid Zith. Deep rumbles from the massive Kronar. Even the usually dignified Polarians allowed themselves amused clicks. Sovereignty? Ambassador Threen of the Polarian Consortium spoke next. Her crystalline form refracted light into rainbows. They have barely left their own planet. 3 colonies. Primitive fusion drives. Chemical weapons. What sovereignty can they claim? On the massive holographic display, Earth appeared. A blue marble spinning in black space. Around it, the 3 colonies glowed: Mars, Europa, and Titan. Tiny specks of human ambition in the solar system they called home. Kelthris manipulated the display. Numbers appeared. Population, 12 billion. Military vessels, 234. Maximum range, 20 light-years. Energy output, barely Class 1 civilization. They are children, another delegate called out. Children with primitive toys. Children who occupy valuable territory, Kelthris countered. His tone grew sharper. Their system sits at the junction of 3 trade routes. The Vrynn Empire requires that passage. They will accept tributary status. They will pay the tithe. Or they will be removed. Ambassador Threen floated closer to the Earth hologram. She had studied these humans. Curious creatures. Violent. Divided among themselves. They had nearly destroyed their own planet twice with nuclear weapons before achieving unity. They fought over resources, religions, and invisible lines on maps. What force do you propose? She asked. The 12th Fleet, Kelthris said. Pride filled his voice. 500 vessels. Plasma cannons that can crack planets. Kinetic bombardment capable of sterilizing continents. We will arrive in their sky. They will see our power. They will submit. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Only one delegate did not laugh. High Chancellor Mordain of the Archon Remnant sat in shadows at the chamber's edge. His species had built this station. His people had once ruled half the galaxy before their empire crumbled. Age had taught the Archons caution. I advise restraint, Mordain's ancient voice crackled through the speakers. We know little about these humans. Perhaps negotiation. Negotiation. Kelthris cut him off. We offered them mercy. We offered them protection under Vrynn rule. They responded with insults. Their ambassador said, and I quote, Earth bows to no one. Such arrogance requires correction. The council voted. 45 species approved military action. Only the Archons abstained. The decision was made. The Vrynn 12th Fleet would teach Earth the price of defiance. In a small chamber off the main hall, the human ambassador watched through a one-way window. Her name was Dr. Sarah Chin. She had silver hair pulled back tight. Calm eyes that missed nothing. She had served in Earth's military before becoming a diplomat. She knew what was coming. Her assistant, Marcus Webb, stood beside her. Young. Nervous. His hands trembled slightly. They're really going to attack? Marcus whispered. Sarah nodded slowly. The Vrynn Empire doesn't bluff. But we have no chance. 500 warships against our entire fleet. The math is impossible. Sarah turned away from the window. She looked at Marcus with an expression he couldn't read. Not fear. Not anger. Something else. Something cold. Marcus, do you know what makes humans special in this galaxy? We're not special. That's the problem. We're weak. Primitive. No, Sarah said softly. We're underestimated. There's a difference. She activated her personal communicator. The device projected a secure quantum-encrypted channel directly to Earth. To Geneva. To the building the aliens knew as the Human Government Center. But humans had another name for it. The War Room. This is Ambassador Chin, she spoke clearly into the channel. The Council has authorized military action against Earth. The Vrynn 12th Fleet will arrive in our system within 30 days. Pause. Then a voice from Earth responded. General James Kuroda, commander of the United Earth Defense Force. Understood, Ambassador. Initiating Protocol Titan. Sarah closed the channel. She looked at Marcus again. Now, she said, we show them what humans really are. The VRWN 12th Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 500 warships materialized in perfect formation. Each vessel stretched 3 kilometers long. Their hulls were black metal infused with reactive armor. Plasma cannons lined their flanks like the teeth of ancient predators. Fleet Commander Zethrak stood on the bridge of the flagship Domination. His scales were dark red, marking him as a warrior caste VRWN. He had conquered 14 systems in his career. Earth would be his 15th. Status report, he commanded. All vessels accounted for, Commander, his tactical officer reported. No resistance detected. Human vessels are scattered throughout the system. Their largest concentration is around Earth orbit. Approximately 100 ships. Zethrak's mandibles clicked in amusement. 100 ships. Pathetic. Open a channel to Earth. Let them see what they face. The communications officer worked quickly. Within moments, Zethrak's image was being broadcast to every screen on Earth. Every device. Every human would see him now. I am Fleet Commander Zethrak of the VRWN Empire, his translated words echoed across Earth. You have refused the Council's generous offer. You have chosen defiance. Now you will learn the cost. He paused for effect. Let them feel the fear. You have 1 hour to transmit your unconditional surrender. Dismantle your military. Accept tributary status. If you refuse, we will demonstrate our power. We will destroy your Mars colony. 5 million humans will die. You have 1 hour. The channel closed. On Earth, in the war room beneath Geneva, General Kuroda watched the broadcast end. Around him, 50 officers monitored screens showing every ship in the system. Every satellite. Every defensive platform. Arrogant bastard, Colonel Park muttered from her station. Good, Kuroda replied calmly. Arrogance is exploitable. Ambassador Chen had returned to Earth when the fleet was detected. She stood beside Kuroda now, watching the tactical displays. They position themselves exactly where we predicted, she observed. The VRWN are predictable, Kuroda agreed. They've won too many easy victories. They've forgotten how to fight a real war. He activated the primary command channel. Every human military installation in the solar system connected simultaneously. Mars, Europa, Titan, the Moon, Earth's orbital platforms, and the hidden bases that the VRWN knew nothing about. This is Kuroda. Status. Responses flooded in. Mars defense ready. Railgun platforms charged. Titan base operational. Stealth fighters deployed. Lunar shipyards reporting. The fleet is ready. Europa station confirms. Weapon systems online. Kuroda allowed himself a small smile. Execute Phase 1. Show them the scared rabbits. Throughout the solar system, human ships began moving. But not to fight. They scattered. Broke formation. Some accelerated toward the outer planets. Others dove toward the sun. They moved like panicked prey fleeing a predator. On the Domination, Zethrak watched with satisfaction. They run, his tactical officer confirmed. Human vessels are abandoning their positions. Of course they run, Zethrak said. What else can they do? But one group of human ships didn't run. Around Earth, 40 vessels held position. They were older models. Fusion-powered cruisers. The humans called them the Guardian Fleet. Commander, one group refuses to retreat, the tactical officer noted. Zethrak examined the display. 40 ships. Antiquated designs. Clearly, these humans had decided on a symbolic last stand. How touching. How pointless. The hour is not yet expired, Zethrak said. Let them watch. Let them understand their futility. He turned to his weapons officer. Charge the main cannons. Target Mars. We'll vaporize the colony as our opening demonstration. But something strange was happening. The human ships that had scattered were slowing down. Stopping. Taking positions throughout the system. Not random positions. Calculated positions. Kuroka watched the VRWN fleet on his displays. They were focused on Earth. Focused on the 40 Guardian ships. They weren't scanning the outer system carefully. They weren't watching Mars closely. They weren't monitoring Titan. Classic mistake. Underestimating the enemy. 20 minutes until Phase 2, Kuroka announced calmly. Deep beneath Mars' rust-colored surface, humanity's real weapons waited. Not the colony on the surface with its 5 million civilians. That was real. But it was also bait. Below the colony, carved into Martian bedrock, were the railgun platforms. 40 massive magnetic accelerators, each capable of launching projectiles at 3% light speed. On Titan, beneath the methane lakes, stealth fighters waited. Not the primitive fusion-powered craft the VRNN had detected. These were new. Reverse-engineered from a Polarian vessel that had made the mistake of entering Earth's system 5 years ago. A vessel that had vanished without a trace. A vessel whose technology humans had studied. Learned. Improved. The moon's far side, forever hidden from Earth, concealed the shipyards. There, 300 vessels waited. Not the old Guardian fleet. Not the scattered decoys. Real warships. Built in secret over 15 years. Nuclear pulse drives. Experimental plasma weapons. Kinetic kill vehicles. And in high orbit around Earth, hidden among the thousands of satellites and space debris, the Real surprise waited. The weapon that would change everything. The hour was almost up. Kuroka checked his chronometer. Send the response, he ordered. The message from Earth reached the Domination exactly 59 minutes after Zethrak's ultimatum. The VRNN commander expected a surrender. A plea for mercy. Instead he received something else. A single word appeared on his screen, no. Zethrak's scales flushed darker with rage. They dare? Destroy the Mars colony. Show them the price of defiance. The weapons officer's claws danced across his console. Charging complete. Main cannon locked on target. Firing in 3, 2. The tactical officer suddenly shrieked. Commander. Energy spike detected. Multiple spikes. Mars surface showing. 40 points of light erupted from Mars. Railgun platforms firing simultaneously. Each projectile was a telephone pole-sized tungsten rod accelerated to 3% of light speed. At that velocity they didn't need explosives. Kinetic energy alone made them planet killers. But they weren't aimed at planets. The first projectile struck the VRNN heavy cruiser subjugator amidships. The tungsten rod punched through shields like they were paper. Passed through the hull. Through the reactor. Out the other side. The ship exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. 39 more projectiles found targets. 40 VRNN warships died in the first 3 seconds of combat. Evasive maneuvers. Zethrak roared. All ships scatter. Return fire on Mars. But the VRNN fleet was in a tight formation. Perfect for intimidation. Terrible for combat. Ships collided trying to maneuver. More explosions blossomed in the void. Then Titan attacked. Stealth fighters emerged from the methane clouds. 100 sleek vessels that the VRNN sensors couldn't properly track. They moved faster than anything the VRNN had encountered. Their hulls absorbed radar. Reflected energy scans. They were ghosts. Each fighter carried plasma torpedoes. Human engineers had taken the Polarian technology and made it smaller. Faster. More precise. The torpedoes didn't target hulls. They targeted engines. Weapon systems. Command bridges. The VRNN point defense systems tried to respond. Laser batteries fired at empty space. The stealth fighters were already gone. Already lining up their next attack. 70 more VRNN ships went dark. Crippled. Drifting. How? Zethrak's voice was barely a whisper. How do they have this technology? His tactical officer worked frantically. Commander, detecting massive heat signatures. Lunar orbit. Ships emerging from the moon's shadow. 300 contacts. The real Earth fleet appeared. Not the 40 antiquated guardians. Not the scattered decoys. 300 warships built in secret. Hidden. Waiting. They didn't look like the primitive human vessels the VRNN had catalogued. These were predators. Angular hulls covered in reactive armor. Nuclear pulse drives that left trails of controlled atomic explosions in their wake. Each ship accelerated at 12 Gs. No VRNN crew could withstand that acceleration. But human crews could. Suspended in gel-filled pods. Bodies reinforced with nanite technology reverse-engineered from their own biology. Humans had always been adaptable. Evolution had made them survivors. Now technology made them weapons. Admiral Elizabeth Kane commanded the Earth fleet from the dreadnought Indomitable. She was 70 years old. Had fought in the resource wars that unified Earth. Had lost her family to a terrorist attack in old New York. The VRNN thought humans were soft. Weak. They had never met Elizabeth Kane. All ships, her voice crackled across the fleet channel. Fire at will. 300 ships opened fire simultaneously. Missiles streaked across the void. Railgun rounds followed. And something new. Something the VRNN had never seen. Humans called them Kasaba howitzers. Nuclear-shaped charges that turned atomic explosions into focused beams of plasma and neutrons. Each blast was like a star's core compressed into a pencil-thin line of annihilation. 20 VRNN capital ships simply ceased to exist. Vaporized. Atoms scattered across space. Zethrak watched his fleet die. 500 ships reduced to 200 in less than 5 minutes. It was impossible. The humans were primitive. The intelligence reports confirmed it. Chemical weapons. Fusion drives. No advanced technology. They lied, he whispered. They lied to us. But humans hadn't lied. They had misdirected. Every ship the VRNN had catalogued was real. Obsolete. Deliberately shown to alien scouts. The real fleet had been built in secret. Hidden on the moon's far side. Constructed from asteroids mined in the outer system where no one watched. Humans had learned from history. From Pearl Harbor. From every ambush and every surprise attack in their violent past. They had learned that showing weakness could be a weapon. That underestimation was an advantage. Retreat. Zethrak ordered. All ships withdraw to hyperspace. Now. But the human fleet had positioned themselves perfectly. The VRNN ships were scattered. Disorganized. Many had damaged hyperspace drives. They needed time to form up. Time to calculate jump coordinates. Time they didn't have. The 40 Guardian ships that had stayed near Earth finally moved. They weren't there to fight. They were there for what came next. Around Earth's orbit, hidden among the space debris, 60 satellite platforms activated. Each platform was 20 meters long. Unremarkable. The VRNN had scanned them days ago. Dismissed them as communication satellites. They were wrong. They were mass drivers. And they had been aiming at the VRNN fleet's predicted retreat positions since the moment the aliens arrived. General Kuroda watched from the war room as the platforms fired. His expression never changed. "Welcome to Earth," he said quietly. Space around Earth became a graveyard. VRNN ships burned. Exploded. Died. The mass driver platforms had fired thousands of projectiles. Each one a simple iron ball. No guidance systems. No propulsion. Just mass and velocity. In space, simple physics became the ultimate weapon. The iron balls traveled at orbital velocity. 7 kilometers per second. When they hit VRNN shields, the shields overloaded. When they hit hulls, they punched through. One ball might not destroy a ship. But each platform fired hundreds. It was a shotgun blast across the void. Commander Zethrak's flagship Domination shuddered as projectiles tore through its flanks. Alarms screamed. Sections decompressed. His crew died around him. Engines at 40%, his engineering officer reported through the chaos. Hyperspace drive is damaged. We need repairs before we can jump. How long? 2 hours minimum. Zethrak looked at his tactical display. Of his 500 ships, only 130 remained combat capable. The rest were debris or drifting hulks. The human fleet was closing in. Those 300 mysterious warships. The stealth fighters. The ancient guardians that had been bait. All ships full retreat. Conventional drives. Head for the outer system. We'll make repairs and regroup. The surviving VRNN vessels turned and ran. Their powerful engines pushed them away from Earth. Away from the blue planet that was supposed to be an easy conquest. But Admiral Kane had predicted this too. Pursuit formation, she ordered from the Indomitable. Don't let them group up. Keep them scattered. Keep them afraid. The Earth fleet split into hunting packs. Groups of 10 ships each. They moved through the VRNN formation like sharks through a school of fish. Not trying to destroy everything at once. Just preventing organization. Preventing repair. One VRNN cruiser tried to stop and fix its hyperspace drive. A human pack surrounded it within minutes. Kasaba howitzers turned the cruiser into vapor. Another VRNN ship attempted to cover a damaged flagship. Stealth fighters appeared from nowhere. Torpedoes destroyed both vessels before the VRNN could even return fire. The hunt continued for 6 hours. Across Earth's solar system. Past Mars. Past the asteroid belt. Out toward Jupiter. Zethrak's Domination was among the 30 ships that made it to Jupiter's orbit. They formed a defensive sphere. All weapons pointed outward. Engineering teams worked desperately on hyperspace drives. Status. Zethrak demanded. 40 minutes until we can jump, came the reply. 40 minutes. An eternity in combat. Zethrak watched his sensors. The human ships were out there, circling, waiting. They hadn't pressed their attack. What? His tactical officer provided the answer. Commander, multiple contacts approaching. Large signatures. From the outer system. The scattered ships, Zethrak realized. The ones that ran at the start. They weren't fleeing. They had been moving to intercept. Taking positions between the VRYNN fleet and escape. The entire battle had been choreographed. Predicted. Every VRYNN move had been anticipated. How? Zethrak whispered again. How do they know war like this? If he had studied Earth's history, he would understand. Humans had been fighting wars for 10,000 years. Wars with swords and spears. Wars with bullets and bombs. Wars with tanks and aircraft and nuclear weapons. Every type of conflict. Every form of strategy. The VRYNN had fought rebellions. Suppressed primitives. Conquered divided systems. They had never faced a species that had spent millennia learning to kill each other with increasing efficiency. The human ships closed in. Zethrak prepared to die fighting. Then Admiral Kane's face appeared on his view screen. She looked old, tired, but her eyes were sharp, predatory. Commander Zethrak, she said. Your fleet is surrounded. Your hyperspace drives are damaged. You have no hope of escape. I'm offering you a choice. Zethrak's mandibles clicked in confusion. What choice? Surrender. No. Your crews will be treated according to the Galactic Convention on Prisoners of War. Your ships will be seized. But you will live. Or. Kane's expression didn't change. Or we demonstrate what Earth really is. You think this was our full strength? You're wrong. What you've seen today is our defensive fleet. The ships we keep in our home system. Would you like to see what we built for offense? She manipulated something off-screen. New contacts appeared on Zethrak's sensors. Approaching from the outer system. Massive signatures. Each one larger than anything the VRYNN had ever constructed. Those are our dreadnoughts, Kane explained. We have 15 of them. Each one carries enough firepower to crack a planet. They were built to ensure that if Earth ever fell, we could take the entire VRYNN empire with us. Mutually assured destruction. It's an old human concept. Zethrak stared at the approaching signatures. He thought of his empire. His people. His family on the VRYNN homeworld. You would destroy our civilization? If you forced us to, Kane replied. But I'd prefer not to. War is expensive. Destructive. Humanity has fought enough wars. We know their cost. So I'm offering you peace. Surrender today. Go home tomorrow. Tell the Galactic Council what happened here. They'll call me a coward. They'll call you a survivor. There's wisdom in knowing when you're beaten, Commander. Zethrak looked at his remaining ships. 30 vessels. His crew waiting for orders. He thought about dying here. Thought about those dreadnoughts turning their weapons on VRYNN worlds. Thought about his children. He deactivated his weapons systems. We surrender. News of the VRYNN defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. This time no one laughed. Ambassador Kelthris stood before them. His purple scales had faded to gray. His 4 eyes were downcast. Humiliation was written across his face. Fleet Commander Zethrak has confirmed the reports, Kelthris spoke quietly. The humans destroyed 370 ships. They did it in less than 12 hours. They had technology we didn't know existed. Strategies we couldn't predict. They were prepared for us. Silence filled the chamber. Ambassador Threen of the Polarian Consortium finally spoke. Her crystalline form was dim, uncertain. How is this possible? Our intelligence was thorough. We cataloged their ships. Measured their capabilities. They deceived us, Kelthris admitted. Everything we saw was what they wanted us to see. The primitive ships. The limited range. The divided colonies. All of it was theater. On the holographic display, footage from the battle played. VRYNN ships exploding. Stealth fighters appearing from nowhere. The Earth fleet moving with perfect precision. And finally, images of the 15 dreadnoughts that had ended the conflict without firing a shot. They built these in secret? A delegate asked. On their moon, Kelthris confirmed. The side that faces away from Earth. They mined asteroids. Used resources from the outer planets. All while we watched the planet itself. We were blind. High Chancellor Mordain of the Archon Remnant moved forward from the shadows. His ancient form seemed even older now. I warned you, he said softly. I studied these humans. Their history is written in blood. They fought wars before they had written language. They built empires and burned them down. They split the atom and nearly destroyed themselves. Twice. He manipulated the display. Earth appeared. Images of human history scrolled past. Ancient armies. Medieval knights. World wars. Nuclear explosions. Each one a testament to humanity's violent evolution. They are predators, Mordain continued. Apex predators who evolved on a death world. Their planet tried to kill them with disease, weather, wild animals, and natural disasters. So they adapted. Became tougher. Smarter. More dangerous. They're just one species, another delegate protested. The galaxy has thousands of species. Advanced civilizations that span multiple star systems. And how many of those civilizations evolved as predators? Mordain challenged. The VRYN are warriors, yes. But they evolved on a world with few threats. They developed technology before they needed to fight for survival. Most species in this council did the same. He pointed at Earth. Humans reached the top of their food chain before they invented agriculture. They domesticated wolves into pets. They hunted animals 10 times their size with primitive weapons. And when they ran out of dangerous prey, they turned on each other. For 10,000 years they practiced war. The implications settled over the council like a shroud. What do you propose? Threen asked. We leave them alone, Mordain said simply. We grant Earth full sovereignty. We establish diplomatic relations. We trade with them. And we pray they never decide to expand aggressively. That's surrender. Kelthris objected. The VRYN Empire cannot show weakness. The VRYN Empire just lost 370 ships, Mordain countered. That's not weakness. That's survival. Learn from it. While the council debated, Ambassador Sarah Chen watched from the observation chamber. Marcus Webb stood beside her again. This time he wasn't nervous. He was smiling. We did it, Marcus said. We actually did it. We survived, Sarah corrected. That's not the same as winning. How do you figure? We destroyed the VRYN fleet. The council is afraid of us now. Sarah turned away from the window. Fear is dangerous, Marcus. Scared people do unpredictable things. The council might decide we're too dangerous to exist. They might unite against us. Let them try. We have the dreadnoughts. We have 15 dreadnoughts against a galaxy of thousands of civilizations, Sarah interrupted. We won one battle. The VRYN underestimated us. That won't happen again. Marcus frowned. So what do? We follow the plan. Phase 3. She activated her communicator. General Kuroda appeared on the hologram. The council is debating our status, Sarah reported. Opinion is divided. Some want peace. Others want revenge. Then we move to Phase 3, Kuroda confirmed. Show them we're not just warriors. Show them why they need us. Sarah nodded. Initiating contact. 3 days later everything changed. A distress signal reached the Galactic Council. The Zith homeworld was under attack. Not by humans. By something else. Something that had emerged from the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. The message was simple. Unknown hostiles. Advanced technology. Request immediate assistance. The council froze. Their fleets were scattered. Many species lacked military strength. The VRYN fleet was crippled. Then a second message arrived. This one from Earth. We received the distress signal. Admiral Kane's recorded voice played for the entire council. The Earth Defense Force is dispatching 3 fleets to assist. We'll be there in 2 days. Ambassador Threen stared at the message. Why would they help? The Zith voted for their subjugation. High Chancellor Mordain smiled for the first time in centuries. The Zith homeworld was burning. The insectoid species had built their civilization across 3 continents. Hive cities that reached into the clouds. Billions of Zith living in structured harmony. Now their cities crumbled under weapons they didn't understand. The attackers called themselves the Devourers. They had emerged from dark space 3 months ago. No one knew where they came from. They didn't communicate. Didn't negotiate. They just consumed. Their ships were biological. Living vessels grown from technology that blended machine and flesh. They absorbed energy from destroyed ships. Fed on the resources of conquered worlds. They were a plague. The Zith defense fleet had been overwhelmed in hours. Now the Devourers landed on the planet's surface. Harvesting machines descended. They stripped everything. Plants, animals, buildings, people. All converted into raw material. In orbit, the Devourer motherships waited. Massive entities that looked like deep-sea creatures adapted for vacuum. tentacles kilometers long, mouths that could swallow cities. They were nightmares made real. The Galactic Council had sent what forces they could. 200 ships from various species. They arrived and immediately faced a problem. The Devourer vessels absorbed energy weapons. Plasma cannons fed them. Laser batteries made them stronger. The Council fleet was dying. Then Earth arrived. 3 fleets emerged from hyperspace. 400 ships total. Admiral Kane commanded from the Indomitable. Admiral Torres led the second fleet aboard the Retribution. Admiral Zhang commanded the third from the Defiance. The dreadnoughts had stayed home. These were cruisers, destroyers, frigates, built for ship-to-ship combat. But the humans had watched the initial battle, studied the Devourer tactics, and they had adapted. All ships, Kane's voice reached every human vessel. Switch to kinetic weapons only. No energy output. These things eat power. So we'll feed them steel instead. The Earth fleets engaged. Railguns fired. Mass drivers launched. Missiles with conventional explosives streaked across space. The Devourers, expecting more energy to absorb, suddenly faced a different kind of violence. Tungsten rods traveling at relativistic speeds punched through Devourer hulls. The biological ships tried to heal, regenerate, but they couldn't heal fast enough, couldn't adapt to simple kinetic force. A Devourer mothership turned toward the Earth fleet. Its tentacles reached out, extended, tried to grab the Indomitable. Evasive pattern Delta, Kane ordered calmly. The dreadnought spun. Its nuclear pulse drive fired. The ship moved faster than the tentacles could follow. And then the Indomitable fired its main weapon. Not a Kasaba howitzer. Something cruder. More primitive. A railgun the size of a skyscraper running the length of the ship. It fired a solid iron projectile. 5 tons of metal. Accelerated to 4% light speed. The projectile hit the Devourer mothership's center mass. The kinetic energy was apocalyptic. The mothership simply exploded. Biological matter scattered across thousands of kilometers. Dead. Completely dead. Target destroyed, the weapons officer reported. Next target, Kane replied. The battle raged for 8 hours. The Earth fleets moved through the Devourer formation with brutal efficiency. They didn't try to match the aliens' technology. They used simpler weapons. Older methods. Kinetics. Explosives. Nuclear warheads that destroyed with blast force instead of radiation. The Devourers couldn't adapt fast enough. They were designed to fight energy-based civilizations. Species that had evolved past physical ammunition. The humans, with their primitive-seeming weapons, were the perfect counter. On the Zith homeworld surface, landing craft descended. Not Devourer harvesters. Human dropships. Thousands of soldiers emerged. The United Earth Marine Corps. Armored. Armed. Ready. Colonel Maria Santos led the ground forces. She had served in Earth's last major war, the unification conflict that ended in 2089. She knew urban combat, knew how to fight in cities. Listen up, her voice carried to every Marine. These things want to harvest this planet. They want to take these people. Our orders are simple. No one takes anything from anyone while humans are watching. Clear? Aura. 10,000 voices responded. The Marines engaged the Devourer ground forces. The alien harvesters were formidable. Armored shells. Acid weapons. Swarm tactics. But humans had fought in jungles. In deserts. In frozen tundra. In ruined cities. Every environment. Every terrain. They had experience. The Marines used explosives to collapse buildings on harvester clusters. Used chemical weapons the Devourers couldn't consume. Set fires. Laid traps. Fought with a ferocity that shocked even the Zith they were saving. One Marine squad found itself surrounded. 50 harvesters closing in. Sergeant Tom Briggs made a decision. Remember Protocol Sparta? He told his squad. They formed a circle. Back to back. Every weapon pointed outward. And they fought. They didn't retreat. Didn't surrender. When ammunition ran out, they used combat knives. When knives broke, they used their fists. The Zith civilians watched from bunkers. Watched these strange bipedal aliens fight with a savagery that didn't match their diplomatic words. Watched them die to save Zith they'd never met. This was humanity. Not the technology. Not the ships. The willingness to stand. To fight. To sacrifice. By the time the battle ended, the Devourers were gone. Destroyed. Driven off. The Zith homeworld was saved. And the galaxy had learned something new about Earth. Humans didn't just protect themselves. They protected everyone. The Galactic Council reconvened 1 week after the Battle of Sith. This time, humanity was invited to speak before the full assembly. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked to the central podium. Behind her, a holographic display showed footage from the battle. Devourer ships dying. Human Marines fighting to the last breath. Sith civilians being evacuated under covering fire. The chamber was silent. 47 species watched. Waited. Sarah began speaking. Her voice was calm. Clear. The voice of someone who had seen war and chose peace anyway. Members of the Council, she started. 3 weeks ago you voted to subjugate Earth. To make us a tributary. To force us to bow. She paused. Let the words hang in the air. We said no. You sent 500 warships to punish us. We destroyed them. Ambassador Kelthris shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His scales were still pale with shame. Last week, Sarah continued, the Sith homeworld called for help. The same Sith who voted to attack us. We could have ignored that call. We could have watched them burn. We could have said that galactic politics demanded neutrality. She manipulated the holographic display. Images of the battle appeared. Human ships diving into combat. Marines landing under fire. Medical teams treating wounded Sith. Instead, we sent 400 ships. We lost 147 vessels in that battle. 3,000 Marines died on Sith soil. Died protecting people who wanted to see Earth conquered. Sarah's voice grew harder. Do you understand what that means? High Chancellor Mordain spoke from his shadowed seat. It means humanity values life above politics. It means we remember what it's like to be afraid, Sarah corrected. Earth's history is violent. We fought wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could have ended our species. We came very close to destroying ourselves. She looked around the chamber, meeting every delegate's eyes. But we learned. We unified. And we decided that strength without mercy is just barbarism. Ambassador Threen floated forward. Her crystalline form pulsed with uncertain light. What do you want from us, Ambassador Chin? What does Earth demand? Sarah smiled. Not a warm smile. Not friendly. The smile of someone holding all the cards. Nothing, she said simply. Confusion rippled through the chamber. Delegates whispered in dozens of languages. Nothing? Threen repeated. You defeated the VRYNN fleet. You saved the Sith. You've demonstrated power beyond anything we imagined. And you want nothing? We want what we've always wanted, Sarah replied. Sovereignty over our system. Fair trade. Diplomatic relations. And one more thing. She changed the holographic display again. This time it showed a map of the galaxy. Thousands of systems. Hundreds of civilizations. And at the edge in dark space more red dots appeared. More devourer fleets. We want an alliance, Sarah announced. Not a council where some species rule and others obey. A real alliance. Equal partners. Shared defense. Because the devourers aren't gone. They're coming back. In greater numbers. The chamber erupted. Voices overlapping. Questions shouted. Panic spreading. Sarah waited for silence. When it came, she spoke again. Earth has fought wars for 10,000 years. We know strategy. Tactics. Logistics. We know how to organize. How to coordinate. How to turn a collection of individuals into a unified force. She gestured to the display. The council has been reactive. Each species protecting its own territory. That won't work against the devourers. They adapt. They overwhelm. They consume. You're suggesting humans lead this alliance? Kelthris asked. His voice carried both fear and anger. No, Sarah shook her head. We're suggesting humans help build it. Your species have technologies we don't. Energy shields we can't replicate. Faster than light drives beyond our understanding. Scientific knowledge that took millennia to develop. She pointed at different delegates. The Polarians have crystalline computers that process information faster than anything Earth has built. The Kronar have genetic engineering that could enhance every species here. The Archons have historical records spanning 50,000 years. High Chancellor Mordain's ancient face showed the ghost of a smile. But, Sarah's voice grew cold. You lack something humans have. You lack the experience of fighting for survival. Of adapting to threats. Of winning wars against impossible odds. We've been doing it since we climbed down from trees. She deactivated the display. Stood alone at the podium. One human facing a galaxy. So here's Earth's final warning, Sarah said. Not a threat. A promise. We will defend humanity. We will defend our allies. We will defend anyone who asks for help. Because that's what we do. That's what we've always done. She paused. Let the words sink in. But we will not bow. We will not be subjugated. We will not be conquered. The VRYN learned that lesson. Don't make us teach it again. Silence. Then High Chancellor Mordain stood. His ancient body straightened. His voice rang out clear and strong. The Archon remnant votes in favor of equal alliance with humanity. Ambassador Threne was next. Her crystalline form brightened. The Polarian Consortium agrees. One by one delegates stood. Voices joined. Even the Zith, their representative bearing bandages from the recent battle, voted yes. Finally, only Kelthris remained seated. The VRYN delegate who had started this entire conflict. He looked at Sarah. At the human who had destroyed his fleet. Saved his enemies. And offered alliance anyway. He stood slowly. The VRYN Empire votes yes, he said quietly. And requests permission to learn from humanity. Sarah nodded. Granted. But understand this, we're not here to conquer you. We're here to stand beside you. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Alliance was born. Not through conquest. Not through fear. Through respect. General Kuroda stood in the war room beneath Geneva. Around him, liaison officers from 47 species worked at their stations. The council chamber had been reorganized. Now it was a strategic command center. Coordinating fleets. Sharing intelligence. Preparing for the next Devourer attack. Admiral Kane's face appeared on the main display. She was aboard the Indomitable, leading a mixed fleet. Human ships. VRYN cruisers. Polarian science vessels. Kronar heavy carriers. General, we've completed the patrol of Sector 7, she reported. No Devourer activity detected. The new sensor network is working perfectly. Good, Kuroda replied. How's the integration going? Kane smiled. A real smile this time. Better than expected. The VRYN crews are learning fast. They're good warriors. Just needed better tactics. The Polarians are brilliant at scientific analysis. And the Kronar. She laughed. The Kronar are crazy. In a good way. They volunteered for the most dangerous assignments. Kuroda allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. 3 months ago, Earth faced subjugation. Now they were the backbone of galactic defense. Not through domination. Through demonstration. Sir, Colonel Park called from her station. Incoming transmission. Archon encrypted channel. Priority 1. High Chancellor Mordain's image appeared. The ancient being looked tired but hopeful. General Kuroka, Mordain greeted. I wanted to thank you personally. And to share something. What is it, Chancellor? We've been studying Earth's history. Your wars. Your conflicts. Your evolution. Mordain's expression grew thoughtful. Do you know what we discovered? In all our records across 50,000 years, we've never found a species quite like humanity. How so? Most species reach the stars by outgrowing violence. They evolve past conflict. Develop peaceful societies. Then build starships. Mordain gestured. Humans did it backward. You reached the nuclear age while still fighting wars. You built rockets while armies battled. You achieved space travel without achieving peace. That's not something to be proud of, Kuroda said quietly. Isn't it? Mordain countered. You carried your violence into space. But you also carried your courage. Your adaptability. Your refusal to surrender. Most species would have destroyed themselves. You almost did. But you chose differently. You unified while keeping your warrior spirit. Kuroda considered this. You're saying we're dangerous. I'm saying you're necessary, Mordain corrected. The galaxy has been peaceful for too long. We forgot how to fight. How to adapt. How to survive against real threats. The Devourers reminded us. But humanity showed us how to respond. The ancient Archon leaned forward. Your species spent 10,000 years learning to kill each other. Then you decided to protect each other instead. That transformation, that choice, that's what makes humans special. The transmission ended. Kuroda stood alone in the war room. Around him, officers from across the galaxy worked together. Learning from each other. Teaching each other. Building something new. Ambassador Sarah Chin entered. She had been in negotiations all day. Establishing trade routes. Settling disputes. Building the infrastructure of alliance. How did it go? Kuroda asked. We signed 15 new treaties, Sarah replied. The VRYN are sharing shield technology. The Polarians are offering computing systems. In exchange, we're teaching tactical doctrine and defensive strategy. And the Devourers? Sarah's expression darkened. Still out there. Watching. Waiting. They'll attack again. Let them, Kuroda said. His voice carried absolute certainty. Last time species faced them alone. Divided. Weak. Next time they'll face an alliance. United. Strong. Led by beings who learned warfare in the harshest school imaginable. Sarah smiled. Earth. Earth, Kuroda agreed. They stood together, watching the holographic display of Allied fleets patrolling the galaxy. Human ships flying alongside former enemies. Former victims. Now partners. Now friends. Earth had issued its final warning 3 months ago. Not with words. With actions. With sacrifice. With the demonstration that humanity was not a species to be conquered or controlled. They were protectors. Strategists. Warriors who chose peace but never forgot war. The galaxy had underestimated them once. It would never make that mistake again. And when the Devourers returned, they would discover what the VRNN had learned the hard way. Humanity didn't seek dominance. But they would defend freedom. And nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous than a human who had something to protect.